Okay, so like the rest of you, I have just watched the brand new trailer for Batman Caped Crusader that surprise dropped. Well, I say surprise, they announced it yesterday. This is another unscripted video where I'm just going to share my raw thoughts based on what we've seen so far. I want to just get off my chest immediately that I thought that trailer was wonderful, and I'm more excited than I thought possible about Caped Crusader and its launch, so I have to talk about it now. So the first thing I want to talk about is Batman himself. Now, from this trailer, it seems like he is not popular at all, because they open with a news piece where they interview members of the public, and they say that, oh, he's a menace and he should be arrested. He commits crimes, doesn't he? And the mayor is calling for his arrest, saying that Batman is not a hero. Now, that made me pause for a moment, because the fact that the mayor has to come out and say Batman is not a hero suggests to me that there are people saying that Batman is a hero by that point. So maybe he's not quite as reviled as I first thought he was. Now, the one I really want to move on to next is my favourite Batman villain, Two-Face. And we got a really decent look at Harvey Dent and his disfigurement. And this is kind of what I was talking about. So I did a video recently talking about everything we know about Two-Face that came out a couple of days ago and now is kind of slightly invalidated. Oh well. So I made a big deal about the fact that they had hidden his disfigurement. They didn't show it in the announcement about Diedrich Bader playing Two-Face, but they showed it in all its, I was going to say glory, but it's not glorious, it's hideous. It's not anything like anything we've seen in the cartoons before. In Batman the Animated Series, his disfigurement was blue. In Brave and the Bold, it was green. He didn't appear in the Batman, and we didn't see his face without bandages in Beware the Batman. But this time it's just flesh coloured. He looks a little bit like an acid burn victim. There was an awful period a few years ago where acid attacks were quite common in the UK, and you would see the victims of this with their awful injuries. I remember seeing someone on the train that had similar injuries one time, and it was difficult to look at. But Harvey Dent is very similar to that. He doesn't have a split suit either. He's very much played as, well, I think from this trailer anyway, that he's being played as a more normal person, not necessarily mentally ill, but absolutely vengeful, and he thinks he's on a righteous crusade. I noted that the voice that Diedrich Bader uses when playing Harvey Dent in the trailer is much softer. Most actors that play Two-Face trying to do a voice like this, whereas Diedrich Bader just sounds like a normal person, and he seems to be speaking in a more soft way than he usually does. And I have to wonder if this is the nuance that James Tucker referred to about Bader's performance. On a related note, there is what looks to be an older gangster referring to someone as knowing too much information and is an itch that needs to be scratched. And then they cut to footage of Harvey Dent at his delivering a speech of some sort of fundraiser, perhaps. I don't know. I have to wonder if that person is talking about arranging the accident for Harvey Dent, which then makes me wonder, is that gangster Salvatore Moroni? Maybe he's Carmine Falcone. Or Falcone, I should say. And at the end of the trailer, you can see the gangster and a younger person, possibly one of his children, being held up by Two-Face before Batman bursts in through the skylight. So I'm intrigued by the Two-Face interpretation from Caped Crusader, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more. Oh my god, I'm going to say that a lot in this video. In fact, I shouldn't say it anymore, because you should just take it as a given that I am excited about this. Now, the next one I think that we got an awful lot of information about was Clayface. So I speculated in another video I'd done that his face would be stuck in that disfigured form and he wouldn't be able to shapeshift. Well, they threw that completely out the window, because we can see at one point what looks to be Clayface, who has got a indentation from a fist in his face, and he doesn't look like the monstrous Clayface. He looks like a scientist, a mad scientist maybe, I don't know. Can I speculate that that is Batman that has punched him in the face? I think it's likely. I suppose it could be anyone, but I think of a very cool... I think it would be, a very cool moment to have Batman punch Clayface in the face and just leave a dent in his visage. You can also see later on, there's a scene where Batman and Alfred are examining a red cloth. Now that looks just like the scarf that Clayface uses to hide his face. So you can see Batman being a bit of a detective trying to look for clues. I imagine he's ripped that scarf off of Clayface's face to get a good look at him, and he's seen his hideous disfigurement and caused him a great deal of shock. Similarly, speaking of shock, nice segue, the best look we get at Clayface is while he seems to be electrocuting someone to death. And there's really strong shadow game going on in the background. Very noir, frightening, harrowing stuff. And I just wanted to note that we can also see Batman and Clayface having a sword fight with... what do they call those fencing swords? Is it rapiers? I don't know. The little tiny thin swords like Errol Flynn or Basil Rathbone, who the character Basil Carlo gets his name from. We also get a decent look at Catwoman having what I would describe as a flirty little chase with Batman through some neon signs. Now you can tell it's kind of flirty because she's smiling, and it doesn't look like she's trying too hard to get away from him. But later on we do see a scene where she breaks out some electrified knuckle dusters and beats the crap out of Batman, which I was not expecting from a show set in a 1940s world, frankly, but I'm intrigued to see how Catwoman gets her hands on those. The next villain I want to talk about is someone who was included in the leak back in March of character designs, but he was not mentioned in the list of villains that are appearing in the show, and that is Onomatopeia. Now, for those that don't know Onomatopeia, and I'm surprised, I should say I'm not surprised if you don't know who that is, because he's a Green Arrow villain created by Kevin Smith. You know, Kevin Smith's the movie director. And that would also explain why Kevin Smith was aware of this show years before it was announced, because it's using one of his characters. But Onomatopeia is a hitman that targets costumed people, but he doesn't speak. Well, I suppose he does speak in a way, but he speaks through sound effects. So if he's about to shoot someone, he'll say bang. If he's about to slice someone's throat, he goes because, you know, that's what onomatopoeia is. Onomatopoeia is the name for a word that is called the way it sounds, like bang and woof, etc. So yeah, cool that he actually is in the show, even though he wasn't included on the list. And I can imagine that he wasn't included, one, because it's a difficult word to spell and some people might find it hard to say, but also because he's probably not going to have many substantial lines other than bang, snick, etc. The next villain to cover is Firebug. So Firebug is very clearly delighted by setting buildings on fire. I noted that he doesn't have the red and yellow costume from the comics. Instead, he's wearing like a muted grey outfit with big goggles. He looks a bit more like Firefly, or at least the 90s version of Firefly. And I have to wonder why they opted to use him instead of Firefly. I know Firefly's not like a major villain or anything, but Firebug in comparison is like Z-list. Maybe they're going to kill him off in a fire or something. I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to try and do something different and dust off an obscure Batman villain, which I am completely supportive of. Now, the next one's a little bit of speculation on my part, but there is a ghostly looking person that gets engulfed in blue flames. Now, initially, because it takes place so close to the Firebug shot, I thought, oh, is that Firebug getting burnt to a cinder? But actually, those blue flames look kind of spectral, and that makes me think it's Gentleman Ghost. Now, Gentleman Ghost's design was leaked in the leak I mentioned earlier that took place in March, and he looks more like a highwayman than, you know, your traditional Gentleman Ghost with the white suit and top hat and short cape. We don't really get a huge look at him, just him screeching as he burns. Now, there is a scene where Alfred kind of he inhales a load of spectral looking black smoke, or spooky looking black smoke, but I don't think that's related to Gentleman Ghost. It could be, but I don't think it is at this point, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to move on next to the Penguin. We get one very brief look at the Penguin, entirely covered in shadow. Now, this suggests to me that there's something about the Penguin's design that they still want to keep secret. Now, some commenters have suggested to me on my other videos that the Penguin is a woman. That could be true. I don't know. I have no insider knowledge on this. I just thought I would mention it because it's a theory that people have been putting out there. We do also see the Penguin's iceberg lounge, and in this case it's a ship. Now, presumably it's a ship so that they can take customers out to international waters to partake in their illegal acts and escape from prosecution. Next, I want to talk about Harley Quinn. So we do get a very brief look at Harley Quinn, and I've already done a massive video talking about Harley Quinn, so go watch that if you haven't already. But the main thing we get here is an example of Jamie Chung's voice, where she says the kings no longer rule this court, it's the jesters. The main thing that jumps out at me is that she doesn't have that strong New York accent that Arlene Sorkin and pretty much everyone else has used. But she does sound quite threatening. I think it's all looking pretty good there. One notable absence, however, was Natalia Knight, who was listed on the villains appearing in the show. Now, she is known as Nocturna in the comics, and she was a vampire character that Bruce Timm really wanted to use in the show, in Batman the Animated Series, I should say, but wasn't allowed to because the network wouldn't allow vampire stories. Now, maybe she's got something to do with whatever the hell was happening to Alfred with that black smoke. It could be related to Gentleman Ghost, but I think maybe it's something to do with her. And maybe rather than being a vampire, she's perhaps a mystic of some sort. I'm not certain. We'll be interested to find out. And then let's talk about Renee Montoya and some of the GCPD. So we got a nice look at Renee Montoya, who is in a relationship with the aforementioned Dr. Quinzel. It's worth pointing out. I'll be interested in seeing if she is an out lesbian or if it's something that she keeps secret. I know that Greg Rucka is writing one of the episodes, and he wrote the Half a Life story in Gotham Central that outed Renee Montoya as a lesbian. It was a big award-winning comic book. Excellent comic. One of my favourites. One of my favourite series, I should say, Gotham Central. But she seems to have kind of like a leading position, almost like she's leading the Batman task force, because she's briefing all the officers while Commissioner Gordon walks in with someone in a neck brace. Could that be Harvey Bullock? Maybe. Maybe it's Detective Flass, and if it's Flass, it's likely Batman put him in that condition. And the final thought I wanted to share, and this is pure speculation on my part, I'm probably reading way too much into this, but there is a mobster in a car leaning out of a window shooting at Barbara Gordon. And oh yeah, that's Barbara Gordon, by the way, I forgot to mention that. Ha! He has got a black suit, a black hat, but his black hat has got a purple, I don't know what you call that. I would call it a purple, it's not a sash. It's got a purple band on it. Is he the man who will become the Joker? Maybe. We don't have long to find out because Batman Caped Crusader's dropping all 10 episodes in about a month on the 1st of August. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I am absolutely taking the day off and I'm going to watch all of them in one go, and I'll be back with loads more Caped Crusader content in the coming weeks. I had actually written a video about Batman and what we know about Batman. I wrote it yesterday and I was going to record it today, but last night they announced that the trailer was dropping today, so I'm going to have to go back to that script and add to it and make a few little changes here and there, because we've seen more stuff here about Batman as well. And wait a minute, I forgot to talk about the Batmobile. We got a good look at the Batmobile and it's smashing through a police barricade. James Tucker had mentioned that this early version of Batman wouldn't have any of the cool gadgets that we associate with him, so I wasn't certain we'd ever see a Batmobile. And yet, there it was, plain as day. Anyway, that's enough rambling from me. Thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Maybe you've learnt something, probably not. Let me know what you think about the show in the comments below. Share your theories. Let's all compare notes and see how wrong I am in the future. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.